So now we've come to the final video in our three-part series on how to make your lead generation campaigns more effective. Now, just want to remind you, everything that we went through so far in videos 1, 2, and 3 is actually a part of our authority branding system that we do when we work with clients, right? We just took a part of that system and decided to do a three-part series to kind of explain, because I realized that lead generation or effective lead generation is something that a lot of service-based business owners actually struggle with. So just to recap, the 3 reasons your lead generation campaigns are ineffective. Number 1, you're using broad targeting to reach everyone, which I covered a video addressing that particular challenge. Number 2, promoting your solution without understanding needs. Same thing, part 2 covers that particular challenge. And in this particular video, I'm going to go through trying to sell without building trust or authority and how you actually overcome that particular challenge. What you're actually looking on here is what I call the trust timeline, right? And it's basically the timeline that you go from having no trust whatsoever with your target buyers to actually absolute trust with your target buyers, meaning anything at all that you sell, any claim that you make, they believe you 100%. So most service-based business owners, when they're starting out, they start here, right? So you notice you have one trust timeline for your network, one trust timeline for the mainstream market. Now, when you're starting out with your network, right, you probably won't start at 0 trust or no trust, because these are people, they already know you. Even if it's someone within your network that sends you a referral, more than likely they have established trust and relationship with that person. So you're simply borrowing the trust from that person based on the referral that was sent to you. So it's highly likely that you're starting somewhere here, or probably somewhere here, or even somewhere closer to absolute trust, right? Because you're borrowing someone else's trust, or you would have already established trust through the relationships of the people within your network. Now, here's where it gets really tricky. What people typically do is think that because they have a lot of trust or absolute trust in their network, when they try to transition from building their business and getting clients from their network to the mainstream market, they automatically assume that that trust transfers from their network to the mainstream market, and that's not the case. What a lot of people may not understand is that once you transition to the mainstream market, you're basically starting from no trust, right? Because these are people, they don't know you, they have no pre-existing relationship or connection with you. So as far as they're concerned, you're a total stranger trying to sell them something. And this is a mistake I see a lot of service-based business owners, that they may try to put out courses, they may have a workshop, they may try to sell a book, because they're thinking, well, I've already established trust from my network, I've already gotten results from clients within my network and so on, so it's easy to just transition and just sell something in the mainstream market. And when they actually launch that course, that workshop, that book, and it doesn't generate as much sales as they expected it to, then they're kind of taken aback, because they're wondering what happened, right? Well, what happened is that you try to sell to the mainstream market without first establishing trust. So what I'm basically going to go through in this particular video is how you can actually move from no trust to kind of build that trust over time. You may not necessarily get to absolute trust unless you have like crazy fan base that you build up over a number of years. But at the very least, moving from no trust to somewhat trust can help your lead generation campaigns be more effective in terms of generating high quality leads and sales qualified opportunities that you actually want to try and close to become clients. Just to give you a visual representation of this. So, as I mentioned before, what most business owners, service-based business owners typically do is they decide that, hey, we want to launch a lead generation campaign, right? So let's say, for example, each of these particular segments represents a lead generation campaign that you want to launch each quarter, right? So we have a lead generation quarter from Q1, one for Q2, Q3, Q4. So they start the year, for example, trying to execute lead generation campaigns Q1 They plan it, they execute it, they measure it, they don't get the results that they're actually looking for, actually satisfied with. Same thing, they try lead generation campaign 2, 3, 4, same result, right? Not necessarily generating qualified leads, high quality leads, or even if they generate those quality leads, they don't necessarily translate to sales opportunities and actual clients. So what you don't want to do is, let's say for example, we're doing this video, it's the beginning of December 2024. Let's say you decide that you want to launch a series of lead generation campaigns at the beginning of 2025, right? January 2025. What I do not recommend you do is do not start the year, and this is for people who you're trying to transition from your network to the mainstream market, which means you haven't built any trust with the mainstream market, you haven't built any authority, you haven't built any sort of goodwill or any sort of real brand recognition and strong brand recognition and affinity within the mainstream market. You do not want to start off with a lead generation campaign. Here's what you really want to do instead. What you really want to do is you want to start building authority, right? So January 2025, that first quarter of the year, you want to start off building your authority. Why is that? Because building authority will help you to move from no trust to somewhat trust in the mainstream market, right? It will help you to also build momentum and credibility in the mainstream market. So what you want to do, let's say for example, that first quarter, you launch, you're building authority in that first quarter, right? You launch some sort of content campaign or some sort of marketing campaign geared towards helping you build that trust and that authority and that credibility. Q2, you actually decide that, all right, once you build that authority in Q1, we're going to launch our lead generation campaign in Q2. We're going to launch another lead generation campaign in Q3 and Q4 and so on, right? And for each lead generation campaign, you can decide that, all right, each lead generation campaign will have probably a different theme, right? So probably you can have one theme for Q2, one theme for Q3, one theme for Q4. You could decide that you're going to launch a lead generation campaign for the different services that you offer. So it could be service 1 for Q2, service 2 for Q3, service 3 for Q4, and so on and so forth, right? You can do it by segment. There are several ways you can decide that you want to launch lead generation campaigns for each quarter. But the key thing is that before you actually do that, you want to build that authority, right? You want to prime them, so to speak, so that they become familiar with your brand, so that they build that affinity with your brand, so they start to see you as the go-to expert and position yourself in such a way where they see you as the absolute solution to their particular need or their particular problems, right? And if you notice down here, it says building brand authority year-round, right? So when you're building brand authority, it's not just a one-off thing, right? It's not something that you just do one time. It's not something that has a specific timeline to it. Well, we're going to start building authority January 2025, and then at the end of the quarter of the first quarter or the end of March 2025, then we're going to stop building brand authority and transition to lead generation, right? It doesn't work that way. What you want to do is to continue to build that brand authority, because remember I mentioned that what we really want to do here is over time we want to move you from no trust to getting as close to absolute trust as you possibly can, right? So if you start off building brand authority, you put a timeline to it, and then once you actually stop, then what starts to happen is that it starts to erode all the trust and all the credibility that you've built during that time, and then you're going to go right back to no trust, right? So the key thing is to continue to build that brand authority year-round all the time so that you get as close to absolute trust as possible. So, how to build brand authority through content. Now, there are 4 different types of content that you can use that I've used with clients. Number 1 is that how-to content, right? Like, for example, how to fix a problem, how to achieve an outcome, and the process for doing so, right? So, me going through this right now would actually be considered building brand authority with content. And I'm actually going through my process that I used to do so. You can have how I content, where you talk about your specific problem, your specific solution, and the results that you actually got as a result of that, right? You can talk about stories of transformation, whether your specific transformation, if it's relevant, let me repeat it again, if it is relevant to your target buyers, right? And then you talk about clients transformation now, where you just talk about stories. You say, hey, we had this client, they had this problem, we executed this for them, and here's the result. This is the journey they went through to actually get that particular outcome. Then you have success stories or case studies. Now, the difference between stories of transformation versus success stories and case studies, stories of transformation is that you're just telling them the story, right? You're at the beginning, this is what happened, this is where they were, this is the problem that they were experiencing, this is the solution they implemented, this is the result. With a success story or a case study, you're actually breaking down the process, right? So it's pretty much the same flow of going that problem, that solution, and that end result that they actually are, that outcome that they got as a result of executing or implementing that solution. The only difference is that you're going to go through step by step, right? So here's a problem that they had. This is a specific solution that they implemented. Here's step 1 of how we implemented the solution. Step 2 of how we implemented the solution. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, how many steps that they actually had to use to implement that particular solution. So we're talking about how we fix the client problem and how we achieve the client outcome. So let me give you some examples of this using our value prop canvas. So this is our value prop canvas, right? So let's use this. So let's say, for example, one of the problems that a client may struggle with is they struggle with low quality leads, right? Let's use this actual video as an example, right? They struggle with low quality leads. So going back to our content now, I can say, here's how to fix your low lead quality problem if you're executing your marketing campaigns, right? That's a how-to piece of content. Or how to increase the lead quality of your lead generation campaigns, right? So that you can increase your lead generation campaigns, or should I say increase the quality of your lead generation campaigns from 10% conversions up to 28% conversions, right? And here's our process for how we increase the quality of our leads. So this specific 3-part series that I'm going through right now would actually fall under that entire process. How I content would be, I had a problem with low quality leads. By implementing our authority branding system, I was able to increase the quality of our leads. That helped us to move from a 5% conversion rate with the sales opportunities that were generated to a 11% conversion rate. Or I could probably say, we were able to increase the quality of our leads throughout the pipeline from, a conversion rate of MQLs to sales qualified opportunities from 8%, between that MQL conversion and that SQL conversion to 18%, right? So I'm talking about my specific scenario and how I was able to overcome that problem. Stories of transformation would be, hey, when I first started my business, one of the things I really struggled with was how to actually generate high quality leads for my business. I tried everything, right? I tried email, I tried social media, I tried running ads. But even after all that, what I realized was that it wasn't necessarily the tactic or the activity why I wasn't generating the results that I wanted. What I realized was that my messaging was off, or what I realized was that I didn't segment my audience enough, or what I realized was that my targeting was very broad. So I'm talking about my story of transformation and the success that I was able to achieve by, moving from this problem of low quality leads to actually finding a solution, implementing that solution, and getting a particular outcome. And then success stories and case studies would be, we have a case study on our website right now with a particular client and how we were able to increase their MQLs to SQLs. So MQLs would be marketing qualified leads. SQLs would be sales qualified opportunities. I believe it was by 65.4% within 90 days, right? And we actually go through the process of how we were able to do that. So that would be an example of a success story or a case study. Alright, so that is it for our 3-part video series. I felt this one went by really quickly. You guys can let me know. I don't know. But if you're ready to see how we can help you to use content to build your brand authority to generate more sales qualified opportunities by leveraging your expertise, book a free intro call with me. You can visit icadmarketing.com to do so. The link is down below. Thank you for watching this series. I hope you got some valuable information from it. Feel free to reach out to me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well, Winston A. Henderson, for any questions that you may have. Until next time, guys, until the next video series, take care and all the best.